folks? Creepy Kentuckian here with you, and I wanted to do a different type of video. I haven't done a review in a long freaking time, and this is going to be a very in-depth review because it is probably one of my top 2-3 films of all time, and a movie that I have a long history with, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. It is, of course, the Goonies, and I'm actually going to review the Blu-ray edition and the movie itself. And you know what, this movie, this actual edition right here, this Blu-ray edition, is a huge set for the Goonies. You can look on the back and see what all's in there. And I'm not a fan of these big bulky boxes usually, but since it was my favorite, you know, in the upper echelon of the films I enjoy to watch, I picked it up, and it did have some interesting things in it. I haven't actually got there's a board game on it. Haven't opened that up yet. I don't know if I will, because I'm not a big fan of board games. They're kind of boring. I get kind of bored playing board games. But this is, Warner Brothers did this justice, did the Goonies justice, I gotta say. A lot of hardcore Goonies out there. And the interesting thing is with this, like me, I mean, I sort of like to, I recently got a big Uber rack, which you guys may have seen on my Facebook page. I like to keep my movies sort of streamlined. Like, I don't want big, bulky, like regular Blu-ray cases. I'll show you guys. Don't line up well with this. This is way bigger than a Blu-ray case. So I like to keep it streamlined. So if you're like me, you can take the actual DVD or the actual Blu-ray out, and it's a regular Blu-ray case. One of the generic Eco Blu-ray cases. But you can put this on your shelf, and that's what I'm doing. And I've got this put up, you know. So yeah, The Goonies is a movie that, as a young kid, I think it was probably one of the first movies I ever rented at a video store. Back in the day, video stores, at least around here, you would buy a VCR from a store, and I think this particular store was called Mike's B&W. And that was a local, just a sort of a mom and pop store, I guess is what people call them now. And you would buy the VCR in there, and you would get a deal, because VCRs were like $600-700 in the early '80s, early mid '80s, and you would get a deal that you would get one free movie rental per week for a year if you bought a VCR. That was the deal they had. And pretty much every Friday or Saturday, we would, my parents and I would go and pick out a movie. And maybe we'd pick out a couple, we'd buy one and we'd get one for free for rent. And this was long before like Blockbuster or Movie Gallery or any of those big movie chains came along. I think the area at the time like had 2 or 3 video stores, and they were all sort of like, just local people running them. No big franchises involved, and it seemed way cool back then. I mean, I remember a lot of the times just going in the store and looking at all the movie posters that were hanging up everywhere throughout the store, and just browsing and finding all kinds of cool shit, like VHSs like Ninja 3, The Domination, and the Conan movies, Red Sonja, the breaking movies, breakdancing movies, and of course, the Goonies. And I do have the VHS of the Goonies, but I think it was like of the re-release, and I'll show that, I guess, for you guys. A little dusty. This was the re-release that came out in '94. This video was, and for some reason, like just for nostalgia purposes, I've always wanted to get the original VHS that Warner came out with for Goonies. But I can never find it. I always look on eBay, and it's always this one where it's the one that the VHS they did in like 2000, 99, 2000, something like that. But it was, let's just say this, yeah, I would see this cover, and I saw that Steven Spielberg, you know, and I recognized the name from E.T. at the time, and I rented the fucker, and it was one of those movies at the time because these kids were a little older than me. I think I was like 6 or 7 years old when I watched the Goonies, but I loved it, and you know, I have sort of um, had a special place in my heart for the film ever since. I've watched it, and a funny story. Like, I know a lot of us growing up have lost a lot of, you know, you collect a lot of dolls, G.I. Joe, He-Man, whatever, you know, Transformers and all that stuff. And a lot of us, like, over the years, it just, you know, where the hell is it? You know, you can't find a lot of this stuff. Your mom threw it out, had it sold it in a yard sale, whatever. And it happened to me too. Like, a lot of the stuff that I had, toys and stuff back in the day, I don't know what the fuck happened to this shit. I wish to God I still had it, but one of the coolest things that I've held on to that for some reason was never thrown out or sold is this ancient videotape that I'm guessing I was 7, 8 years old when I first borrowed this tape from my next door neighbor. His mother ran, I think owned, a Curtis Mathis. You guys can look at that and see how old that fucker is. Remember the Curtis Mathis video stores back in the day? I think they were like, you know, you could buy a lot of equipment there, videos, VCRs, TVs, all kinds of stuff. This is the old video that that I borrowed off of him when I was like 6. I don't know. I was like, at the oldest, I was 8 years old. So I've had this for like over 20 years. And I bet you money I watched this tape upwards of 300 times over the years. Because up until, you know, 8 or 9 years ago, it was the only way I ever watched the Goonies after I originally rented it. And it's just something I'm always going to hang on to. I don't think I'll ever play it again. As you can see, it's not been rewound. But it's one of the coolest things that I still have, like, from my childhood. I haven't held on to a lot of stuff. And to a lot of people, like, I know nobody really gives a shit about this but me. But, like, I mean, you can see how fucking old. And it looks like, you know, it's probably got like a caked on layer of dust on that son of a bitch. It's not going to come off. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a voucher for how big of a fan I was of the Goonies growing up. So I thought that would be interesting for you guys to see and you know, appreciate. Everybody appreciates shit like that. I know you guys, like, a lot of you guys aren't huge fans of the Goonies, more than likely, because a lot of you guys are more fans of just the straight horror films, and we talk about horror films all the time as well. I love horror, but this was one of those things where, like, I don't have a whole lot of stuff from that time period, so it's very cool to look back and just see the faded Goonies handwriting on this tape, and it was really cool. So anyway, without talking, I've talked enough about my love for the film, I guess. The movie, I was highly anticipating this son of a bitch to come out on DVD. Of course, I have the DVD as well. I think it came out 2001 on DVD and was pretty packed full of extras at the time. I know you had like a video commentary throughout the entire film with all of the Goonies reunited, which is pretty awesome. Even though I think Sean Astin left early on and didn't really talk a whole lot about the film. This was when he was still working on the Lord of the Rings stuff. So I don't know if it had anything to do with that or what. But for the first time, we got to see the movie in widescreen, anamorphic, and I know that there was like a laser disc or something released, but I'd never seen that. That was really rare for a while, and there's so much more of the movie you can see in widescreen too. A lot of people probably don't appreciate nowadays, because it's, you can see it pretty much anywhere on HDTV or the DVD, which you can get this DVD for next to nothing. And but at the time, I'd only seen the movie in pan and scan, which misses like almost half of the screen. So it was very cool to see it in widescreen and see some of the deleted scenes. The octopus scene, which Date at the very end of the finished movie talks about the octopus, and I was always curious, like, there's not an octopus in the fucking movie. So we all assumed, or at least I assumed, that he was just lying about that. He was just exaggerating how dangerous the trip was. So, but no, there was a real octopus, but it was deleted. Dick Donner said, no octopus. Um, Documentary, behind the scenes stuff. There's all kinds of stuff on this. I think most of that is on the Blu-ray. So, let's go ahead and talk about the movie itself while I knock shit over. The Goonies, we're fast forwarding to the Blu-ray. Highly anticipated this thing to come out. To give you an idea of how much people know I love this movie, I think 3 people got this Blu-ray for me for Christmas. So, interesting. Very interesting. So anyway, it came out. Of course, the only way you can get this is in this big box set right now, but I think eventually they're going to be releasing the Goonies just in this, if you just want the disc itself. The Blu-ray itself is fantastic. If you have any questions about the actual look of the movie in HD, it's just breathtaking. It's an awesome looking film. It's well made, for one thing. Richard Donner and Steven Spielberg together, just a very unique but cool combination to make a movie. So, to talk about the film, the Goonies are these group of kids right here who all live in this community that a lot of the wealthy, I think a few of the wealthy people are going to tear it down and build a golf course on there, and they must all move. I think they're moving to Detroit, which is not a good place to move. Jessica knows about that, but I think the weekend before they're to move from their house, all their houses, the Goondocks, they call in the movie, they are, I think Mikey, who is Sean Astin's character in the movie, his father is a curator for a museum, has a lot of artifacts and stuff up in the attic, and the kids decide, hey, what the fuck, there's nothing else going on, let's go see what trouble we can get into. And this is what I identified with quite a bit, because as a kid I was one mean motherfucker. I would always try to just go in and be nosy regardless of where I was, so I thought that was really cool that they were going up there and just getting into shit they weren't supposed to get into. And of course they find a map to a buried treasure, and they decide to go and look for, I think it's the pirate was One-Eyed Willie. Looking back on it now, it's kind of a silly name and everything, but as a kid, whatever, I enjoyed it. So, this is basically an adventure film. They're going, they find the passageway to begin the adventure in a old restaurant, like a closed down restaurant, and in the basement of the restaurant is where they begin. And of course, there's in the beginning of the movie, you follow the Fratellis, which are a group of escaped convicts that sort of like the foil in the film for the Goonies. and you know, it's a really cool adventure movie for kids. Kind of like a lot like Indiana Jones, but with kids, you know, and it's just a really fun movie. And if you got, like, I know a lot of people like that were grown up at the time. Like, I know Rob Scottra over here on YouTube. Go check him out. But, you know, he's like 30 years old when the movie came out, so he wasn't a fan. He didn't want to see it because it looked like a kids movie. But now, just now he's getting into it, and I think he got the Blu-ray, so I'll be interested in hearing what he thinks about it. I think it's a fun movie. It holds today. It holds more nostalgia for me than anything else, but it's still a well-made movie, and it's a fun film. And the music, who did the music on this? Dave Grusin, who I'm not really sure what LT has done, but I love the music on this too. It's very, I don't know, just is a really cool score. And you know what? Is a great movie. I think it's become a huge cult favorite. There's various websites, and I think there's fan documentaries on the Goonies now. So this can't get a higher recommendation for me. Not only for the Blu-ray itself, definitely get the Blu-ray. The movie itself is just great. I love it, and I have all kinds of Goonies crap everywhere throughout my house. And you know what? Like I said, pick this up. This is like one of the coolest sets to come out in a while. And if you don't want the box, you can just put the box up and put this in your Blu-ray with the rest of your Blu-rays, and it fits in well. And that's pretty much it for the review, guys. But like I said, the Goonies Blu-ray is good enough for me. It should be good enough for you too. So until next time, I'm the Creepy Kentuckian, and maybe I'll do some more reviews, just random stuff like this. But this is one that I always wanted to do on the Goonies. One of my favorite movies ever. So that's it. See you guys later.